Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, November 4th, 2025, Election Day. Stand up for your country. Those who are voting today are standing up for their country. It's pretty easy. My polling place out on Long Island, pretty quiet. We're not involved directly with the New York City vote. I understand it was bedlam in the city. Maybe it's not going to break a record for mayoral turnout, but it's going to be more than the recent past, that's for sure. And we'll get into that a little bit because of the communist aspect to it, which is engaging the whole country. Now, tomorrow we'll analyze the results. It's not a lot, and it's not going to be a big lookout. You'll get that phony stuff on cable TV news. Oh, this is a harbinger of the midterms. That's a bunch of BS because so many things are going to change in the next 11 months. It's going to be guaranteed to be startling because President Trump is moving so quickly on so many fronts, and the courts have to issue rulings. And we're going to get into the most important ruling on the tariffs in the Talking Points memo right now. So the tariffs is a national security situation. It has not been portrayed that way by the corrupt media, but it is. If you have a country that is declining economically, that is a threat to your security. So Germany, for example, is in bad shape economically because of its woke posture and quasi-socialism. The United States is fairly strong, stronger than Russia and China, our adversaries. But if we were to have a recession here, and that, remember, led to the election of Barack Obama, then we would be weakened. So President Trump is determined not to let that happen, and he has instituted these tariffs to stop the federal trade deficit. Now, when I say those words, federal trade deficit, I know you're either going to change the channel or your eyes are glazing over. And if you're older, you may have passed out already. I know how boring this is. I am going to make it. I can't promise it'll be exciting, but it won't be boring. So a trade deficit is when the United States sends more money, corporate money, out than it takes in. And the deficits for us over the past 10 years have been astronomical. So here are the numbers. Beginning in 2017, this is Trump, $552 billion deficit. 621 next year, 617, 679. Okay? So Trump in his first term ran big trade deficits, but nothing like Biden. Biden comes in, first year, 861. Second year, almost $1 trillion, 945. Then 773, then 918 in his last year. Why? He didn't pay attention. Biden could not care less. He wasn't even able to assess those kinds of numbers. But massive amounts of money were going out of the country to our enemies. To our enemies. Biden sent billions to Iran by unfreezing their money, and China was rolling in dollars. So Trump gets back in and goes, I'm going to stop this. And the only way he can stop it is to charge other countries a fee, a tariff, to do business here. Because the United States consumer buys more stuff than anyone on earth by far. Because we got more assets. We have more money. You socialists and communists. We're a consumer-based economy. That means we buy, companies prosper. China's not consumer-based. Nobody has any money there. They're export-based. So their money comes from shipping stuff here. We buy it, and the money goes back to China, and then they hire another 1 million soldiers. Are we all understanding? I don't think that was boring. I hope it wasn't. All right, so that's Trump's philosophy. In addition, this year, the U.S. Treasury will receive about $500 billion in tariff money. That'll go right into the Treasury. Now, I wish, and if I get to interview Donald Trump, that'll be one of my first questions. Where is that money going to go, Mr. President? What are you going to do with that money? We still have a big trade deficit. Where's it going? Rainy day fund? Are you going to invest? Or what is going on with the $500 billion that you've raised with the tariffs? We, the people, have a right to know that. I don't know it. Nobody's told me. Nobody will say anything. That's not right. Okay. Now, examples of how we get screwed in the trade deficit. So as you know, in May, I was in Japan, China, and Korea. I saw maybe, and I was around. I was moving around. Maybe I saw 10 American cars in the 3 countries. 10. No American cars on the road or trucks or vehicles or anything. None. That's how we're getting screwed. Take a ride on any U.S. highway. Toyota, hello, Mercedes, all over the place. All right. In fact, the United States sells only 5% of the cars that the Chinese people, 1.5 billion, drive. And those are probably Chinese American people over there. 5%. Okay. Japan last year bought 17,000 U.S. vehicles. That was it. 17,000. They're not cooperating by taking our stuff. So therefore, Trump slaps them with tariffs. Do we all get this, please? I don't want to have to do this again. I really don't. Now, Trump administration is being sued, okay, by the people who hate Trump, the Democratic Party and all their apparatchiks. And it's in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has to rule. Now, they got to rule in Trump's favor. I'm going to prove it to you right now. And nobody knows this because, again, it's too boring for the media to even contemplate this. You know what the Trade Act of 1974 is? I know you don't because I didn't until my crack research staff handed it to me. The Trade Act of 1974, signed by President Gerald Ford, says there are 3 sections. 301 allows tariffs in response to unfair trade practices. Okay? Section 201 permits tariffs if a U.S. industry is seriously injured by surging imports. 122 authorizes temporary tariffs to address significant balance of trade deficits, and it gives power to the president to do all that. Hello? Okay. Trade Act of 1974. Now, the Supreme Court cannot rule that unconstitutional. All right? But it can limit certain parts of it, which it will. But it's going to allow Trump to have a lot of reign in slapping tariffs because the law is already there. If Congress doesn't want the law, pass a new law. Pass a new tariff law. That's what the Supreme Court's going to say. Because the judges, the 9 of them, they're not lawmakers. They uphold what's already been put into the system. So it's almost impossible for me to believe that the Supreme Court will say to Trump, no, you can't have your tariffs. Thank God, because if that ever happened, there would be a severe recession in this country. Now, I'm just going to play you one stupid soundbite from Congressman Jason Crow, Colorado. Okay? Mr. Crow should not be sitting on Capitol Hill. He's not smart enough to be there. Roll the tape.
Well, part of the problem with the tariffs is that Donald Trump is largely using tariffs. I'm glad you raised that because he's actually largely using tariffs to enrich himself and his family. Right? They are using the threat of tariffs to strike golf course deals around the world.
That's not true. There's not a shred of evidence of that. So the man goes on CNN or MSNBC, they're both the same, and lies. And the people in Colorado don't care. But there's no evidence that the tariffs are benefiting the Trump family at all. None. We researched it very thoroughly. Now, Norah O'Donnell on Sunday, 60 Minutes, she knows kind of what the tariff thing is. She doesn't know, I can guarantee you, about the Trade Act of 1974. But here's the exchange with President Trump. Go.
What happens to your economic plan if the Supreme Court invalidates your tariffs?
I think our country will be immeasurably hurt. I think our economy will go to hell. Look, because of tariffs, we have the highest stock market we've ever had. Because of tariffs, 401ks at the highest level and this is millions and millions of people that we've ever had, 401ks. I think it's the most important subject discussed by the Supreme Court in 100 years.
But I can tell you the president's pretty confident he's going to prevail here. All right, and I believe he will as well. So, summing up, this is a extremely important story for you and your family, because should the Supreme Court rule, no, tariffs are illegal, the president doesn't have the power to do that, you'll see the stock market down 5,000 to 10,000 points, and it'll be just Armageddon chaos. And that's a memo. American homeowners, the FBI has been warning all of us about a type of real estate fraud called title theft. The target, your equity. With just a forged signature, ownership can be transferred out of your name, and without protection in place, you are facing an emotional and financial nightmare. That's why I partner up with Home Title Lock. You can find out today if you are already a victim and protect yourself. Use promo code BILL at HometitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if you are a victim of fraud, they will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code BILL, or use the link below. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code BILL. Okay, a couple of polls and we'll get to our guest. Atlas has the New Jersey gubernatorial race a dead heat. I can't predict this stuff. I just don't pay close enough attention to the states. I don't have time to do it. Mikey Sherrill, Democrat, Jack Ciattarelli. Looks like Ciattarelli has some kind of momentum here. And if I had a bet, I'd bet on him. Virginia, the Democrat's going to win Spanberger because the Republican Earl Sears is not a good candidate. So Virginia, it's not even going to be close. In New York City, Mamdani will probably win, but he's a communist. So how do I know that? Because, all alone, no, he's not a communist. He is a communist. Now, I was going to run a soundbite, but I'm not going to run it. I'm going to quote it. Okay? So this is Mamdani. In 2021 at the Young Democratic Socialists of America conference. Here's what he said. He said, right now, this is a quote, if we're talking about issues that have groundswell of popular support across the country, there are issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, okay, BDS is boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel, okay, or whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production, unquote. Seizing the means of production. That is a communist tenet. Seizing by force. Because regular folks like me are not going to give you my house. So you have to take it. And guys with guns would have to come. That's communism. That's what happened in China with Mao Zedong. In Russia with Stalin. In Cuba with Castro. If you read Confronting Evil, it's a big part of the book. How these communist totalitarians murdered millions, tens of millions of people to seize the means of production. This is what this guy Mamdani is quoting. Yet he may be the next mayor of New York City. Frightening? Yes, it is. Joining us now from the city, Miranda Devine, columnist from the New York Post. The Post has been 100% against Mamdani from the very beginning. Miss Devine has a very popular podcast, PodForce One. She interviewed a lot of the Trump administration, including the president himself. All right, so look, it's all established that you and your newspaper, and you hate Mamdani, you don't want him, he's destructive, and all of that. There's an old adage that says you hope for the best, but you plan for the worst. You live in New York City, Miranda. Have you made any plans or adjustments of what you might do in your life should Mamdani become the mayor?
Not really. I mean, we've lived through de Blasio when the city visibly went downhill very quickly. And then, of course, the pandemic when it became like the night of the living dead with a whole lot of zombie drug-affected, mentally ill people wandering the streets and a whole lot of inmates released from Rikers Island. And then, of course, we had a whole bunch of illegal migrants placed in hotels all around Midtown. So it's been, pretty willing for the last, well, almost since I arrived here back in early 2019. So I think that we're expecting, if Mamdani wins, that things will go south slowly. I mean, already the NYPD is a shadow of its former self. You can just tell from the fact that there are so many women, so many small police officers who just stand around reading their phones. Now, Jessica Tisch, who's the very good NYPD commissioner after a series of upheavals, Mamdani was forced into saying that he would probably keep her on, which is one. She's not
going to stay.
Well, he knows that she's going to be his foe in the next election. So I don't think he's going to want to keep her on anyway. So I'm sure he'll make life miserable for her. And that's the last piece of good news that we have about keeping the NYPD together. And I must say, under Eric Adams, things started to look up on the crime front. But Mamdani is on record. He's pretending now and that he didn't really mean it, or he's changed his mind. And
yeah. Well, we know that he doesn't want to prosecute criminals because he believes society is at fault, not them. But you say you haven't made any plans or thought about it. So I have family members who live in New York City. And I said, look, if this guy comes in within 6 months, you're going to have a frightening rise of street crime because the people committing the street crime aren't even going to be arrested. I wouldn't be surprised if the 911 system collapses because there's not enough police now. And the police that are going to stay, many of them will leave, are going to be reactive. They're not going to be aggressive. They're not going to be running out there as fast as they can run out there because he's going to have civilian review boards that are anti-police. And if a cop makes a mistake, defends himself or herself, he's right in front of the board. And you can sue the cops if you're a thug or anybody. Who's going to do that? No one. So I'm telling my family members, look, you're going to go out at night. You're going to have to go out 3 or 4. You can't go out by yourself. That's number one that's going to happen. Number two is garbage isn't going to be picked up. Union people are just going to go, every bit of efficiency, and the city is not efficient, is going to go down because this 34-year-old, he doesn't have the organizational capacity to keep it up. It's the largest city in the country, 8.5 million people, all right? And he knows going to get it worse, the poor. The people who are voting for Mamdani are going to get it the worst. So
they're not actually voting for him. They're voting for Cuomo.
Well, you're going to see,
liberal women and young people who are voting for Mamdani. And the majority doesn't want.
You're going to see immigrants, people born overseas, which is now 50% of the New York City electorate, vote for Mamdani. You'll see in the exit polling. Okay, they're going to get it the worst. 1 million
Muslims will, yes, because he's gone out by that vote.
As a New York Post columnist, and your beat is the city, do you believe that the people voting for Mamdani are stupid?
No, I'll tell you the way I see it. First of all, he's got the Muslim vote locked up because he's appealed to them specifically on identity grounds. He's gone to, mosques and cuddled up with this radical imam who gave character testimony to the blind sheik, who was the mastermind of the first World Trade Center bombing. He's made he's not even bothered hiding his affinity with radical Islam. So that's number one. And then you've got young people. And I mean, in a way, I can forgive them for their stupidity because, they haven't been taught any history. They haven't read your books. They've gone to university and been brainwashed. And not only that, as Democrat voters, they have been betrayed. And I don't really blame them for being angry. They look at Washington, D.C., they were lied to about Joe Biden. They see a gerontocracy has taken over their party establishment. And so it's just natural for them to feel they've been priced out. They have this Pied Piper, Mamdani, comes along and says to them, sort of taps into their grievance about the party and says, follow me and I will make your life affordable. And he makes these airy promises. There's no way he can fulfill any of them, but they're angry with the establishment, so they're going to go with a generational part. And then you've got just the crazy, rich, liberal elite, including a lot of Jews, which, as someone said, is like chickens voting for KFC. But they, are going to vote. The polls show, we've seen interviews with them, I've talked to them. They love Mamdani. And they see him as sort of the antidote to Donald Trump and a reinvigoration of the Democratic Party and the way of the future.
Do you see, and that's a very good analysis you just gave the rest of the nation that doesn't live here, do you see an anti-Trump vote in the New York mayoral situation?
Yes, certainly in that liberal boomer demographic, the wealthy elites. Trump derangement is very strong here in New York. And there's a big cohort of conservative voters. And Donald Trump increased his vote last election. And I mean, every county has turned a little red. And to the point where Elise Stefanik, who seems to be running for governor, she may have a chance where Lee Zeldin did not. But still, the majority, I mean, Manhattan or New York City is something like 70% plus Democrat voters. And I would say, more than half of those are Trump deranged.
Yeah, and the younger ones, of course. All right, Miranda, thank you very much. Nice segment. We appreciate you taking the time. I hope we can talk again soon.
Thanks, Bill.
The cost of everything still rising, and many of us are relying on credit cards to cover essentials. If that debt is piling up, you're not alone. Americans now owe more than $1 trillion in credit card debt. You may have thought about calling American Financing, but hesitated because you don't want to lose your low mortgage rate. Well, good news, they created the Smart Equity Loan. It lets you tap into your home's equity without touching your current mortgage. Unlike a home equity line of credit, this loan has a fixed interest rate and one predictable monthly payment. No upfront or hidden fees. It only takes 10 minutes to get started, so please call 888-462-9557 or visit americanfinancing.net/bill. The tax extension deadline may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is just beginning. If you miss the October 15th deadline or owe back taxes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement. Every day you wait makes it worse. The IRS can charge a penalty of 5% per month, up to 25% of your total tax bill just for not filing. That's on top of what you already owe. The good news? There is still time for Tax Network USA to help you. Whether you are self-employed or a business owner, even if your books are a mess, they have got you covered. They specialize in resolving financial chaos and getting you back on track. Your consultation is 100% free. So please call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com Bill. Okay, final thought. I'll be busy all night. I'm busy all day. I need a nap. NewsNation. Now, depending on how much Cuomo bloviates off the top of the show, I'll be on the lead guest at 8 o'clock. Okay? Then I'm going over to WABC Radio, our flagship, 9:30 with Rita Cosby. The results will be in on WABC Radio. You can listen to it anywhere in the world. Just punch up WABC Radio Live. Boom, you can listen. That's the technology. So I'll be there at 9:30, NewsNation at 8. And then tomorrow we'll have analysis of what happens today. Thank you very much for watching and listening this evening. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We will see you on Wednesday. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.